Orienteering is a fantastic outdoor sport that can be enjoyed by absolutely anyone in all kinds of different places, whether it's within your garden, in the local park, in your school playground, or out in the hills and forests. This series of videos aims to teach you everything you need to get started with orienteering. So if we're going to go orienteering for the very first time, what is it that the most important thing that we need to get started? And the answer is a map. We need a map of an area where we actually want to go orienteering. So the first thing we're going to do is to actually think about maps. So what is a map? It's a picture of the real world, but it's been drawn on paper. It uses colours and symbols to represent the things that we can see in the real world, but it is drawn as if you're looking down from above. You have to imagine that you're a bird flying over, looking down. So if we think about maps that we see all the time, we can have things like a map of the whole world, but that's a bit big for orienteering. Or we can have maps which show different types of information, whether it's showing physical things like the hills and the rivers, or political information such as the different regions within Scotland, but still too big as a map for orienteering. The type of maps that most people are familiar with are Ordnance Survey maps, but even that still doesn't have enough detail for us. It's still too big. So what we need is an actual orienteering map, which has its own special set of symbols and colours that we'll find out more about in video 4. So once we've got our map, we can have maps of all different kinds of places. It could be a map of our school playground, or we could even draw a map of our own house or our own room. So if we want to actually go ahead and create our own maps, what do we need to think about when we begin? Well, the first thing we need to think about is how shapes look like from above. So if I had a shape such as this box, if I was going to look at it from above, what would it look like? That's right, it would look like a rectangle shape. What would this shape look like from above if I had a tall cylinder? If I look down on a cylinder, the top of it is going to be a circle. And if it was lying on its side, it would actually appear like a rectangle. What about if it's a shape like a cone? Again, if you look down on the cone, it's going to be a circle from above. But in our maps, we're going to have bigger things like houses. So if I think about a house from above, it's simply a rectangle looking down. We can't see all the other detail on it. Sometimes it can be easier to show things with a symbol on a map rather than actually trying to draw its exact shape from above. So it could be something like a tree or a fence. And you can make up your own symbols. But if you make up your symbols, you need to have a key on your map to tell other people what your symbols actually mean. So for example, let's think we want to draw a map of our town. So what's the first thing we need to do? We need to think about how things look like from above. We need to use symbols. We need to add a key to tell others what the colours and symbols mean. And we have to remember that we only map things which are always there and are not moving. So things like the dog and the car, they're not going to be on our map because we can't guarantee they're always going to be there. So the first thing we have to do is think about the shapes and everything as we look down from above. So imagine you're that bird flying over looking down. As we said before, the things like the houses are all going to appear like rectangles. So if we then think of the view, you can see all the houses as rectangles. I can only see the top of the fence, the top of the trees, and the pond from above, and the roads are simply just marked as that. So now we can actually convert that into a map. We don't care what the colours the different houses are. All we need to know is that they're a building. We also need to mark with our fence. You'll see we've put in a symbol for that, and I've decided to use just a dark green circle to be the tree. So now you can go and start to create your own maps. Try and draw a map of your garden or your room, remembering, think about things from above and create your own symbols and your key to tell people what your map is representing. Then come back for part 2 and we'll show you how to do the next stage of creating courses on your maps.